All right, so how does sourcing work? Right, so there's a couple different pathways or venues you can do this with, right? So first of all, what is sourcing? So sourcing is if I am a distillery and I don't distill my own product. For example, let's say during COVID, everyone and their mother opened up a distillery, right? So you have a problem because you can't buy time in the barrel, right? So you can buy all the stills and you have all your equipment and all your tools and your measurement and your lab technicians and your employees and your rick houses and all this stuff, but you can't accelerate time, right? So your distillate needs some time to mature to become good. Unless you want to put stuff that's 3 months old, 6 months old out there, maybe you have something good, but probably not, right? So what you would do, you have different options. One, this is not super common because it's very hard. Peerless does this, but what you would do is while your distillate is maturing, you would sell moonshine and vodka. You'd sell something else until your distillate comes to maturity and becomes ready to sell. Now, Peerless did put some stuff out. I know it was 3 years old. I'm not sure if they did anything that was a little bit younger. They might have had a 2-ish year old, but when it was 3 years old, they sold it for like $100+. And it won Whiskey of the Year. I think it was the rye first, won Whiskey of the Year. You can do that. There are some distilleries that they just wait until their stuff's ready. They will not source, right? And that's great. More power to you. Hopefully you succeed in that, right? What you can also do is what you call contract distilling, right? If I don't want to buy all the machinery like the stills and, that's a lot of money buying everything goes into distilling, right? So I can pay somebody else to make a mash bill for me, and they can either age it there or I can bring it back and age it at my place. Now, where you're compromising a little bit is you're going to be using their equipment, their yeast strands, things like that. I'm not positive on this, so if you know this, please put this in the comments, but you will have a selection of kind of what you want to do. For example, if you're going to go to MGP, I don't know how many different types of corn you could select from, right? I don't know if you only get to use what they use or if you can ask them to use something else. I don't know the exact details on that. But at minimum, you're going to be able to choose from what they have. So when you get all these brands like Colorado and Wyoming and Texas and Florida or whatever, like most of them, it's MGP juice. But the difference between it is that it's in a drastically different climate, right? When it's aged, right? Now, some of them will also do the next option where you will source until your stuff comes up age. So instead of selling moonshine and vodka, you source from, X distillery, MGP, with something that hopefully is similar to what your whiskey will taste like. And then when yours comes of age, you just switch over to yours. Now, you can make that transition more seamless by blending those together until you can kind of wean off. So Bardstown did that. They sourced from a bunch of places and then they they mixed stuff and then they did some finishes and weaned off until they had their own stuff. So it's the Discovery series, the Origin series, and then Fusion series. So red, blue, and then now they're on their white labels. So that was pretty cool. And then another option would be to just buy those barrels, right? So I go to MGP or I go to whoever and I just buy barrels that they already have. Because again, MGP is making a ton of different stuff. Bardstown's making a ton of different stuff. So you can just buy what you want. You can bring it back and age it, blend it, finish it, do a single barrel, whatever you want to do, and then put your label on, right? So once you buy those barrels, as long as you have a distillery license, like that's yours. Now you have to be transparent with what you do with it to the TTB, the government, the people that regulate alcohol. But you can do what you want with it as long as it's legal. Now, what is MGP? What is Bardstown? Who are people going to source, right? So you'll hear me throw out, and you'll hear anybody that talks about whiskey throw out Bardstown and MGP all the time because they are the meccas of where you go to source from. And it's really cool. Bardstown, I don't know the exact story on this, but if you go to their tour, they will kind of hint at it. They don't really have a great relationship with MGP because they were trying to go into business with them, or there's some kind of deal with their president a long time ago, and they kind of got snubbed, and so Bardstown recreated MGP, and I don't know if they're bigger right now, but they are booming, and they are doing all kinds of different distillate, all kinds of different projects. They're throwing up rick houses every day. It's ridiculous. It's a cool tour. You should go to Bardstown. But so MGP, Midwest Grain Producers, now Ross and Squibb. I'm never going to call them Ross and Squibb. It's MGP. That's just what it is. They're in Indiana. They don't market themselves, right? So they own Remus. That was their original brand. And then now they own Penelope, which is probably more famous than Remus. Penelope was sourcing from them, and then MGP bought them out. can still use in their own stuff. But they don't really market themselves. You don't go to MGP to do a distillery tour, and there's not a bunch of big name brands on the shelf. MGP makes whiskey for other people, and they're really good at it. Again, when COVID happened, everyone's trying to look for distillate, and MGP has tons of it, so I'm going to go to MGP. And people like to be like, oh, it's just MGP juice, another label, blah, 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 and I'm not going to drink MGP, it's the same stuff. They make really good stuff. They make some really good stuff, and it's very versatile. And again, a lot of the MGP juice is either aged there, or they're going to Colorado or California or Florida and aging these stuff in different places and blending them. So the variations of possibilities are literally endless. So just because it says MGP on it, like, give it a shot. Bardstown is the MGP of Kentucky, but they also have their own brand that is famous. So Bardstown bourbon is big, it's huge, it's in every store now. And they contract distill, and they regular source, so you can go to their place and buy barrels, blend them, mix them, whatever you want to do. But they do a lot of good stuff too. So those are the two main places. Now you can go to, pretty much anywhere to source as long as they let you. Brown-Forman does not source. Buffalo Trace does not source. I'm sure there's other places that don't. But to source from somewhere, you got to be, first of all, big enough to have enough barrels for your product and someone else to buy stuff from you on mass scale. And then you got to be willing to source, right? So there's not very many places that will do mass sourcing, but MGP and Bardstown are going to be the two big guys of that. TDG, Tennessee Distilling Group, is kind of coming on as that for Tennessee whiskey. So before, again, you can't source from Jack. George Dickel is kind of polarizing. So most sourced Tennessee whiskey was George Dickel for so long, but now that TDG is here, it's really picking up steam because I think it's a much better product. I think a lot of their juice competes with the higher end Jack bottles, even at younger years. I've got some 5 and 6 year TDG that will definitely go toe to toe with Jack 10, 12, 14. I haven't had 14 yet. I don't want to say that. Forgive me. But some really good Tennessee whiskey from there. Old Dominic is not big enough to source yet, but I'm sure they will do it in the future. Great products there. So some of the different brands, different like methods different brands will use. So like y'all know, I work in a Natural Barrel Company. I don't know of anybody else besides like bourbon groups that are going and picking single barrels on mass scales and then bringing them back and aging them and selling them. That's what Natural Barrel Company does. So they're going to, it's not like regular sourcing where you're just going to one distillery and sourcing your stuff from whatever. Like they're going just wherever, picking, cherry picking the best barrels. And because they've been doing it so long, Mike and James have been doing it so long, they really have connections where they can get the best barrels. It's not like me or you goes to, some distillery and like, hey, we want to source, we want to pick some barrels, and they're going to roll out 5 barrels that were projected last month. Like they're going to get quality stuff. So again, I don't know of anybody else that's doing that besides the Natural Barrel. Now, what a lot of people do, they will do that on a batch level, right? So Barrel Bourbon does a really cool version of this. So they do batch releases where they'll go to different distilleries and they will blend batches either yearly or just, whatever release. And that will be a different batch every year. It might be the same like name with the same like kind of profile, but it'll be a different batch release every year. And there's a lot of brands that do that are really successful at it. And they become like allocated bottles where it's like everyone wants that stuff. Like, hey, these guys are really good blenders, right? So everyone kind of has this negative connotation of, oh, you don't distill your own stuff, so I'm not buying it and it can't be any good and I don't want your business. Like it's not local, grain to class. At the end of the day, if it's good, it's good, right? What's in the bottle is good, then you drink it. And if it's a price you can afford, then buy it, right? Like you can't get hung up on all these technicalities because some people are just really good at picking barrels. They have a really good palate, really good nose. Some people are really good at blending. And they can make phenomenal products with different people, different distilleries distillate that you would never have experienced from those distilleries, right? So I will never not try anything, right? And that's what's so cool about this. Like, don't just get in one lane of, hey, give me some Weller and Buffalo, give me some Buffalo Trace products. Like, if you don't distill your own stuff, like if you're not, or some people go the other way, like it's got to be craft. Like you and your dad, grew up on this farm and you only use your corn and you only use the water out in the well out back. Like, it's cool, but if it's good, it's good. You got to give everything a chance. So hope this cleared up kind of what sourcing is, how it all works. If I didn't cover everything, please let me know. And if I was wrong on something, just drop in the comments. But thanks y'all for watching.